All right. 1 minute after the top of the hour, Michael, you want to kick this thing off a little
I'm ready
bit?
if you are.
All right. Very cool. Let's go for it. This is an exciting conversation. Michael and I have known each other, gosh, 5 or 6 years now, maybe?
At least, yeah.
At least, yeah. Been a while. I have the utmost respect for the coaching that you guys do at AlphaScale.
Thank you.
And you've got a lot of insight. I'm excited to talk a little bit about I'll call it the rule of fives. I don't know if you guys call it the rule of fives, but
The list of fives. You're close.
the
It
list of
still
fives.
works either
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So today, you guys, we're going to talk about creating predictable growth. And we'll go through a number of things that we do at Social Advisors to help lay out a systematic approach to growth. I know a lot of advisors, of course, that largely on referral. Michael, I know we're going to talk about a Harvard study a little bit. Truth of the matter is, as your book ages, the referrals actually slow down. And so I was getting ready for our conversation where it's actually when your clients are in their 40s and 50s, that's when your referability spikes a little bit. And as clients get into their 70s, that tends to slow down a little bit. So we'll dive into some of that stuff and give you some very specific executable tips and ideas for creating a predictable growth system going into 2026. So you're not so reliant upon the referrals. Those are gravy. That's great. Love that. But if you've got a predictable system under your belt, then you've got obviously more, I want to say predictability, but that's redundant.
Or you're at least influencing the results if you can't purely predict it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, Michael Silver, my friend, why don't you tell us a little bit about AlphaScale?
Sure.
I'll talk a little bit about Social Advisors, and we'll jump into this thing.
Good. Thanks for having me today. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm based in the Northeast in New Jersey and woke up and it was in the low to mid 30s this morning. So I'm a little envious of Charlie being in Florida there. But I founded with two partners a firm called AlphaScale. And AlphaScale, we specialize in coaching and consulting to financial advisors, teams, and the firms you all work for. We work in every channel, RIAs, independents, regionals, and super regionals, as well as the wirehouse channel. We coach trainees to teams that do tens upon tens of millions of dollars in production in a very customized fashion. And AlphaScale is a proper noun because it's the name of our firm, but we've also turned Charlie into a verb because our goal is to help everybody alpha scale their business. So through customized coaching, we help you alpha scale. And if you break the word apart, alpha is really outperformance and differentiation versus your peers and your competitors. Scale is how can we help you create capacity to grow? And without going into a huge overview here, we focus on three core areas of any advisory practice under the AlphaScale theme. Number one is activation. It's how are you positioning yourself, and we'll cover some of that today, and your plan and your story, right? Your growth plan and marketing plan. The next phase is optimization. It's all things practice management, from team development to roles to segmentation, service models, client onboarding, anything foundational. And the last piece we call acceleration, which is all things acquisition, marketing, and business development. So that's a long story short for you.
Yeah. And you guys, having known Michael as long as I have, I've watched these guys in action. We've shared some clients over the years. The real deal. AlphaScale's awesome. So if you're looking for coaching in 26, highly recommend you reach out to Michael. I know you're going to share a QR code later.
Correct.
Michael, and I'll do the same so that if you've got any questions or want to have a conversation about anything, we'll both be available in the coming days. Let's see, Social Advisors, we run marketing automation for financial professionals exclusively. We've broken down a four-step business development process that is not unique to us. Everybody's got this four-step business development process. We'll jump through that a little bit. We call it the core four, and we've built a really systematic way to approach business development within the industry. And I don't want to spoil too much right now because we'll dive in a little bit of detail, and I'll share the tools with you that we use to put a systematic approach behind your growth strategies. Yeah. So anyway, just a team of technology-related people making your prospecting as automated as possible. Michael, I'm sure you hear the story as I do, right? When you ask, what's the last 5 clients? Oftentimes it's 4 of them are referrals, and the other one maybe was a networking event or a seminar that somebody did. When advisors are so reliant upon referrals, what are some of the issues that you see? Lack of predictability we talked about.
Yeah, I think as everybody knows, the advisor population is aging. The average age of a financial advisor is late 50s, probably pushing into their 60s. So separate and apart from this discussion, there's a huge need to hire and mentor and train new talent to take over those practices. But the reality is, and this is not a positive or negative, it's just the truth, is that most advisors over time get complacent. They've built their practices and they don't focus on what they did to build it. They're more in the here and now. So business comes in, but it's mostly reactive. And it's still good, but it could be even better by adding proactive marketing. So as your clients get older, meaning as the advisor's clients get older, what happens? They retire, they have big rollovers. They inherit money. They
Yep.
sell a business. If you said to me, Michael, what's the biggest flow of money coming into advisory practices? Business liquidity events, focusing on business owners and pre-liquidity planning. But the short answer to your question, Charlie, it's complacency, and money comes in from life events
Yeah.
versus the proactive side of things.
We chatted a little bit as we were doing our intro here. What are some of the changes that you see when an advisor's book of business goes from, say, their main client in their 40s and 50s versus aging into retirement? So we've got the liquidity events upon retirement, but then, of course, the majority of clients are going into withdrawal stage. One of the articles that I read again in prep was that your referability spikes when your clients are in their 40s and 50s. Having a concentrated client base, right, that maybe is aging alongside you, not always the best option. I'm going to talk a little bit about diversifying who it is that you're prospecting.
Yeah, there's one of our favorite phrases when working with advisors, and you probably do similar work on crafting their story and their value proposition, is in theory, we've built a multi-generational team to work with multi-generational families.
Yeah.
So as clients and advisors get older, you all as advisors must not only have a succession plan, but a next gen team underneath you. And for your clients who are aging, you must, and this is a pounding the table must, try to build relationships with that next generation. Number one, to capture and retain the assets when the older generation passes, but also your wealthy clients might have kids that are very successful in their own right and need financial planning and wealth management advice. So it has to focus on next gen.
What are some of the, we're off script here a little bit.
Oh, good.
You see me gazing up a little.
Yeah.
What are some, talk about some of the strategies and tactics for next generation. I'll give you a case in point. We've got a client that we've been working with for a little bit less than a year. Their largest client passed away last year. So they've retained a lot of those assets because that client's widow is still alive, but 95 years old. They have done a very bad job. And that's their largest client, makes up probably 25% of their assets. It's a huge, maybe 10% of their revenue because of the size client they are. Of course,
Right.
things are a little bit
Compression.
different.
Yeah.
Yep. What are some of the strategies that you guys help advisors with in
With
that
next gen?
with next gen? Yeah.
Yeah, one of our favorites, we call it a summer school series. And there can be different age groups. So I want to make sure we're realistic about execution of this. But you could do something for high school and college age kids, maybe millennials in their 20s, even into their 30s, and different programming. But do a three-part summer school series for the next generation of your clients. And one of the activities is you send a check. It's a fake check with your branding on it, made out to the children of your clients for $5 million. And it comes with a whole instruction set and questions of dinner time family conversations saying, congratulations, you just got $5 million. What would you do with it? How much would you set aside for taxes? What would you buy frivolously? How would you save and invest it? How much would you give to charity? It's a really excellent exercise.
Very
Another
cool.
idea that we had a team do is they essentially had a happy hour for children of age, and they had a special section in the restaurant and brought in food trucks, but they had the serious conversation about budgeting and saving and investing and credit and IRAs. Very foundational, but it works. So
Awesome.
education is the key.
Yeah. Very cool. You had mentioned complacency.
Yep.
And we know based on conversations we've had before that consistency is really a driver of success. You talked about a Harvard study at one point. What was that?
Yeah, so this is the time of year where we hit the pause button on all of our tactical coaching and collaboratively write business plans with our teams and firms.
Yeah.
There was a study, I don't know if you remember, it's called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School, written
Okay.
by Mark McCormick 41 years ago.
Oh,
1984, this
I,
book was written.
okay.
And this is the opening to whenever we talk about business planning. They did a study of graduating MBA students at Harvard in 1984 and said very simply, have you set clear written goals for your future? Short, easy question.
Yep.
3% said, yes, we have clear written goals. We have put pen to paper. 13% said, yeah, we have goals, but it's up here in our head.
Yeah.
84% said we don't have goals. Now, sidebar, Charlie, if you're at Harvard MBA in the 80s, you know what desk on what floor of Salomon Brothers and Lehman you want to work.
Yeah.
So, But the study's the study. I think more people had goals. They went back 10 years later. The 13% who said they had goals but not in writing were earning 2x the 84% who said we don't really have goals. The 3%, and this is all from memory, I'm not reading this. The 3% who put pen to paper or finger to keyboard were earning 10x everybody else in the whole study. So
Wow.
the simple output of that is write down your goals and you will be more successful. So the question was consistency. If you write down your goals and you're systematic and consistent about the execution of your strategies, you will be more successful. You know, one of the things we talk about constantly is everyone has ideas. So let's call ideas strategy. But there's a gap between strategy and execution.
For sure.
Having ideas is great, but you must
Yep.
implement and execute. So.
Yep. Yeah, no question. Cool. I think that's a good segue into talking about our core four system. And then we'll get into your list of fives because
Yeah, go for it.
because I think it's awesome. So we didn't develop this. It's just something that we tap into is your business development strategy, waiting for referrals, asking for referrals. I know a lot of advisors that do that are not so great at asking for referrals. I tend to want to ask for introductions in most cases.
We call them qualified introductions versus referrals. Yeah, we're saying the same thing. Yeah, big difference.
I think there's some advisors I've seen that are masterful at it, but most of the examples an awkward conversation in a lot of cases, right? Getting outside of that referral and diversifying your prospecting, your four-step business development strategy, it's mine, it's yours, Michael, it's yours. It's just that the way it is. Number one, identifying your ICP, your ideal client profile. If you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know the value that you create for that particular person, it's really difficult to create messaging that's going to get attention, that's going to convert people. So number one is understanding who it is that you want to do business with and the value you provide them. Number two is building a huge network of people. I'm not talking, we don't want to be talking to 200 people that fit that profile when we can be talking to 2,000 or 20,000 people. Your most important marketing asset is your email list. So building an email list, and there's a lot of great ways to do that. LinkedIn makes it super simple. For those of you who haven't used LinkedIn Sales Navigator, makes it really easy to find the people that you want to be nurturing in time. And Michael, in 8 years, we've built an email list at Social Advisors, 26,000 people. So it's, about 17,000 active, but every time I send an email, and we send sometimes two a week, we get 4,000, 4,500 people that fit a very specific niche reading that email, consuming our content, hopefully value-based content. Hopefully they find it valuable, but it's a really easy way to build a brand. Content is step number 3. So now LinkedIn's not the only way to build a network. Certainly there's traditional handshaking. And if you focus on an industry, of course, there's going to be association events and there's publications for most industries or businesses, if that's your focus. But number 3 is nurturing, right? So social media content, I think, is table stakes now. I think 10 years ago, if you were posting consistently on social media, you were doing something a little bit different. It's not the case anymore, but you still need to be there. Your email communication is more important than, so long as it's quality, so long as it's value-based, is more important than any social content out there. You should be doing a combination of the two. That's step 3 is nurturing and keeping your brand present, building trust. Step 4 is conversion. Webinars like this are very easy to pull off. And just like seminars a lot of people still doing seminars, but seminars were highly successful 15, 20 years ago. Webinars and educational events continue to be your best conversion tool. If you're talking to, like we are, 17,000 people when we send an email, the webinar really creates an opportunity for people to self-select. So if they sign up they register for your webinar, they attend your webinar, much like you guys did today. Thank you for doing that. It demonstrates who's paying attention to your messaging and who's probably ready for a deeper conversation. So I'll take a couple seconds if it's all, I don't want to keeping an eye on the time, Michael. I don't want to drive us too late, but I'll take a couple seconds and just kind of show you some of the tools that you can use. If you haven't, anybody use Sales Navigator in here? Give me a little a Y in the chat box if you've used Sales Navigator before.
It's an amazing function.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so we've got some people coming in. Very cool. Dave, Sam, thanks for replying. Anybody else use Sales Navigator before? You guys, this is awesome. So this is a search I actually did for a prospect yesterday who lives in Corning, New York, and was prospecting. He's got some clients with Corning Incorporated, right? So we did a quick search, Corning, New York, 35 miles from a zip code. People that have 10 or more years at Corning Incorporated because he's it's got a network of people there. You can see we found 1,000 people within 35 miles of this person's office that work for the company that he's prospecting. We can do a couple more of these real quick, maybe just one more. If we play with some of this criteria. So what Sales Navigator is, it's really a query tool. It does a lot of other things, but for our purposes, we use it as a query tool. The criteria that we're looking at on the left-hand side here, this is criteria you can use to search any public profile on LinkedIn. So if you're let's take a smaller town, right? If you're in Des Moines, Iowa, for example. So I don't want to go, if I can spell Des Moines. O-I-N. Maybe I can't spell Des Moines.
No, you need a space. D-E-S
It's a space. Thank you.
There
you go. I knew we'd find it. If you're in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're looking for people who maybe they're business owners, right? The business owners with more than 10 years in their business, and maybe we don't want sole proprietors. Here's business owners of businesses with 11 to 200 people in Des Moines, Iowa, 567 people. If you're in that area and you're prospecting business owners. A couple other we can do real quick, just to give you an idea of how this all kind of fits together. Let's say we do oil and gas executives in Houston. There's a ton of those, right? So if we go greater Houston, we can pull industry, right? Oil and gas, and we could include a couple others, but for time's sake, we'll just do a couple of these. And then let's say we're looking for director level and above or something like that, right? So we can C-suite, maybe vice president, C-suite, president. So here is 24,000. That number is too big. But one of the things it allows us to do is we can click this little toggle, and it just gives us people who are posting on LinkedIn consistently. So we know that they're active in this, in this particular forum, right? So we use this, Michael, for many of our top of funnel strategies, right? So we can find exactly who it is that we're looking for that fits that ICP, the advisor that we're working with. And then we actually have this cool dashboard that will import all of those people. So for our buddy Ryan Wagner here, these are the people that showed up in his particular search in St. Louis. So he's got a targeted audience in St. Louis. We can import that list, and then we can send out 20 invitations a day to connect with those people. The campaigns usually run pretty well, right? So for Ryan's campaign, it's not doing as well as it should be. But yeah. So Ryan's got 12 new connections in the last 14 days. That's not as high as we want. Usually we're looking at 3 or 4 a day. But what we do is import those into a platform like this one. This platform is called Go High Level. It's a great CRM, but we can do this with just about any CRM, right? So for every connection that Ryan has, they import directly into, I've got to pull up Ryan's here. There we go. Sorry, guys, I thought I had my technology ready for you. But they import directly into these platforms. So it's just every day it's adding 3-4 email addresses, you can see, so that they're nurturing. And then they run events often and really are just building out a pipeline of people, right? So here's Ryan's prospect pipeline that comes out of this automation. And as we get towards the right of it, expressed interest, schedule the right fit meeting, which is what they call the discovery meetings. So it's simple. I walked through it quickly, Michael. I don't want to take up too much time with it, but it's really doing everything we can to automate that front end of the prospecting system. And then our most successful clients are running maybe a quarterly or a monthly webinar to be able to weed out who the prospects are in that system that we implement on their behalf.
Yeah, I think Sales Navigator is an underutilized gold mine of opportunity.
I agree. You guys, I don't know how many, there's several 100 million profiles on LinkedIn now, and that number is growing quickly. So if you've got it's difficult for people who aren't in a sales position, for example, because that's what a lot of people use the platform for. Medical professionals, maybe not the best audience. People who are growing a career, corporate executive, business owners, plan sponsors, right? So we can search anybody in HR positions. So if you're not using Sales Navigator, and I'm going to put a QR code up later, if you just want a quick tutorial on that, certainly get on my calendar. I'm happy to walk you through the best uses for that platform. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Michael, so we walked through these 4 steps, right? What do you find the most difficult step for advisors?
I'm not going to say all because that wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
I think the front end, which is really defining your niche and target market, somehow cold calling in 1993 when I started in the business as an FA. So
Yeah.
I was an FA for 13 years. I had little white cards, which many people remember, and I got the president of a public semiconductor company in Long Island, in New York, as a client, bought some
Yeah.
muni bonds from me. And over my years working with this guy, Rich, I did business with his company. I got introductions to their peers and colleagues and competitors. I went to their conferences. I became known in the industry. So whether you are working with physicians or if you want to get really specific, physician entrepreneurs, so they're no longer practicing doctors, but they've started biotech or medical device companies, or
Yeah.
crane operators, or business owners in plastics manufacturing. I say these because they're very specific, and these are what our clients do work with.
Yep.
Right? You'll be more successful if you know your space. The opposite of this, I had a client in Texas once say to me with a little bit of a southern drawl, which I won't imitate, but he said, Michael, if they're really nice and really rich, I don't care.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay too. My preference, as is yours, is have a defined niche and target market.
Yeah.
So, it's all about consistency and execution. If you map it all out, the results will follow.
Yeah.
The front end is the hardest part.
I agree with you. I think there's some trepidation in getting narrow. The fear of building a website around a specific audience or building your LinkedIn profile out around a specific audience, knowing that not everybody in your book of business fits that profile. So I think there's some fear of alienating people.
Yeah, you can start. Sorry to jump in on you, but you can start
Yeah,
at a high
that's right.
level that we specialize in working with individuals, families, and corporate executives, or affluent individuals, families, and business owners. But there could
Yep.
be another sentence in that formal value prop, which is your website and your LinkedIn profile and your collateral materials.
Yep.
And you can mention subspecialties
Certainly.
with manufacturing firms and corporate executives or founders. There's the there's the forum to put it all out there, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm all for going after a narrow niche. I want to be a larger fish in a smaller pond. There's plenty of opportunity out there, and most advisors are generalists. The reason I want to go after a narrow niche is because it's much easier to build a brand and to create a persona around this audience, right? A couple case in points. I've got a client who focuses on heavy equipment or not manufacturers, but dealers. And these are Caterpillar dealers and whatever, I don't know them.
Other brands,
Yeah,
right?
all the brands in that industry, but they've got very specific associations, right? They've got very specific publications. So in the 4 or 5 years that I've been working with this advisor, they've gotten main stage time at the National Association. They now are writing a quarterly article in the industry publication.
Yeah, they're immersed in the
Yep.
niche.
Every dealer in this industry knows who they are. Their business has grown exponentially. Now, it wasn't always that way, right? You had to wade into it, and it takes a little time. We focus on an acronym OPN, other people's networks. When you get a narrow niche, an association's built a network that you can tap into, right? Or a publication or somebody else who has a significant brand in an industry. There's no reason to kick down doors anymore, ride coattails, right? So if you're not already in a niche, or if you're in a niche and you're struggling to build a brand, who's already got the network? That's where your partnership needs to be. Yeah.
Said.
Yeah. So Michael, how can someone know that they're fully immersed in their niche?
Yeah, you hit on one of them is that they're speaking at the conferences, right? If you
Yep.
become known as a subject matter expert in that niche, you'll know you've arrived. If your
Yeah.
clients are referring you to coworkers, colleagues in their industry at other firms, even their competitors, you know you've arrived.
Yeah.
So it will take on a life of its own, and that's how you do it.
Yeah. Agreed.
But you need to
Awesome.
go to the conferences, read periodicals and rags that they're reading. You
Yep.
need to be able to speak their language, but in not in advisor speak and client speak. That all comes together to paint the whole picture.
Agreed. All right. I'm excited about this piece. Talk to me about the list of fives, man. I just know the tip of the iceberg here, so I can't wait for you to dive in a little bit.
Yeah, so after the core four comes the list of fives. This is one piece of our business planning template that we work on with everybody. and it's very tactical. So my challenge to everyone on this call today is, if you like this idea, write down your list of fives. So here's what they are. The first list of five is, can you write down the names of five existing clients where you think or know there's a greater wallet share opportunity next year? So if you have a client retiring on March 15th and you know there's a $2.4 million rollover, they go on the list. If you have a client that has money at another firm and they haven't committed to moving it to you, but you're really going to try, that goes on the list. So five existing clients, greater wallet share. Next list, who are your top five prospects that it's your priority to close and onboard next year as a client?
Love it.
Number three, who are your top five centers of influence? Accountants, attorneys, other trusted advisors who have the connectivity and inclination to introduce you to others. So there are two scenarios for your COIs. They're people you already have good rapport with and just want to stay in front of them, or there are a couple of CPAs, attorneys, realtors, whoever, that you want to build increased rapport with in hopes they'll introduce and be open to joint marketing. The fourth list out of five are, can you write down five specific wow ideas for next year? So back to our client that's retiring on March 15th, what do you want to do for them to memorialize and celebrate their retirement?
Yeah.
What creative gift that's thoughtful and relevant do you want to do? So this is a harder one to come up with those five, because you may not know certain life events are taking place until it's sooner. And the fifth one, which plays right into you, Charlie, what are five digital marketing strategies you have for next year? Is it start a podcast? Is it really dig into Sales Navigator? Is it post content with regular frequencies? What I would tell you to do with this list of five, keep it open at all times. And anytime someone comes off, you have to replace them with somebody else. So you can never say, I don't know what to do, because you have 5 times 5 on these lists of actionable people to speak to or activities to work on.
The theme, the actionable aspect of it, the activity and consistency, right, is something we've come back to in this conversation 4 or 5 times. I find that most advisors, I don't know if they struggle for what that activity is, where your list of 5 certainly tackles that, gives them actionable activity, or if it's a complacency thing, as we touched on at the top of the hour. But it really is just understanding what the right activities are. But the ability to hold yourself accountable to the activities, I think, is where a lot of people drop the ball. And also where I think coaching becomes infinitely important.
We're the accountability factor. We're
Yeah.
the personal trainer at the gym giving you a better workout than you'll have on your own. And it's just to really force, for lack of a better word, execution.
Yeah. So I'm sure, Michael, a lot of the front end of your relationships is education. And then once you get through that education piece, like I know, and I've got a few coaching relationships in the digital space. I know that it's simply having a call on the calendar for next week or the week after that for a lot of advisors forces the activity to happen. So whatever it takes, it is about activity, the right activity, but then consistency with that activity.
Totally agree.
We have found that the greatest conversion tool is an education event. Now, that's not with strangers, right? Typically, that's with people that you're nurturing in your CRM. What makes a webinar, Michael, the effective tool that it is?
Yeah, one of the biggest things to me is that you don't have geographic boundaries. So if you're doing an in-person event and you work in Charlotte, you need local people.
Yeah.
We have advisors that have webinars and literally people join not only from around the country, but from around the world.
Yeah.
So I think geographic boundaries. I think another benefit to the webinar, and there are pros and cons to what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah.
If you're in person and you have open forum discussions or just ask a question, people a lot of times get quiet.
Yeah.
We did a talk recently for a group of advisors and they were taking notes and taking pictures, which means what? They're engaged.
Yeah.
But when we asked questions, they were quiet. So I think
Yeah.
a benefit to the webinar versus an in-person setting is people just hop in a chat. They don't have to really speak in front of the group, but they're happy to just type something.
Yeah. Not that we've gotten that today. So you guys, if you have any questions or you want to jump in on the conversation, by all means, hit that chat box. The other thing that I've seen happen is, number one, financial services is not the most trusted industry in America. In fact, it's the 4th least trusted. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. So let's see if I can remember the top 3: elected officials. So it's not great company, right? But it's elected officials, car salespeople, and advertisers are the three least trusted industries. Financial services next. It's a Gallup poll, so it's reputable. The problem is they still call financial advisors stockbrokers. So
Yeah,
people,
gone by the
people
wayside.
yeah, people still stuck 20 years ago. One of the things that happens when you start becoming an educator is your brand transforms. So you go from being, and the reason it's not trusted is first off, money's emotional, but also a lot of advisors come through training programs to sell before they come through programs to service. With a lot of the large wirehouses, for example, that's the sales channel, right? When you're for internal conversation, people are afraid to be sold to. And financial services is notorious for being direct sales, if you will. There's a transformation that happens when you become an educator through webinars or through seminars that are value based that I think has a huge impact on the nurturing of a network of people.
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree. When you talk about webinars or in-person events, they can be all education, they can be all fun, for lack of a better word, or they can be a combination. I'm a
yeah,
fan of both, especially
agreed.
for in-person.
Yeah, yeah. You got to entertain a little bit.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to have conversion are calls to action. And Charlie, you probably talk about this hourly with everybody with their
I do.
marketing.
Yep.
If you're going to do a LinkedIn post, an event, and especially a webinar, have a call to action. If you're talking about financial planning and retirement income strategies, the simple call to action is if you're looking for ways to put aside more money for retirement and maximize your retirement savings, call us. Follow up with us afterwards. We can
Yeah.
help. If you're talking about philanthropy and you're talking about donor advised funds, if you're looking for creative ways to put away money to ultimately donate, call us. We can help.
Yeah.
Any
I,
type of call to action. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I'm going to say we're soft on the call to action with social posts. We are heavy on the call to action with email. So
Okay.
a couple of reasons for the social posts. I think number one, the content that you share, especially on LinkedIn, that's going to get the most attention is not your business content, unfortunately. LinkedIn has really evolved into a social platform. They need to retain eyeballs. And if everybody's shouting business advice at each other, they have found that's not what's sticky, right? So you can put up a great tool or great advice, business related, and it might get 25% the exposure of the picture you put up from the client event that you did. So it's that kind of that social type content that gets more exposure. That's not to say the business content isn't important, right? You still need to demonstrate to people what you do, but we're soft on CTAs on social posts. We're much heavier on calls to action within emails, which is a forum I feel like it's more expected. So
That's
I don't want my social messages to be construed as sales messages. Anyway, so that would actually be my advice on it is lean into email for your call to action.
okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a post recently that on LinkedIn that had more of a personal tilt. It was an organization I got involved in on a leadership committee. I got almost 10 times more impressions than a regular business post. I was
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thousands.
Dude, I got a very an anecdotal story real quick. I do a snowboard trip every year. A couple of years ago, I drove out to Lake Tahoe from Florida. Just did a road trip it was a couple of weeks on the road. I took a picture of myself in front of my truck with my camper in Zion National Park. Cool
I remember
picture.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool picture. I think 12,000 people saw it, Michael. I got back from that trip and I posted something off our website that was like a useful business tool, and I think 400 people saw it.
Yeah.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what
So mix it up. You have to do
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
balancing
Yeah.
act.
Yeah. Certainly. We got a question here about, David, you put a lot in there. So let me read it real quick. But it's really with advisors being fourth least trusted, do we recommend investing in compliant client video testimonials to address the trust issue? Yes, I do. As much as you can use social proof. So there's the information around this is the SEC marketing rules have changed, and it's been a few years. 2022. David, thank you for giving me the year because I want to know that off the top of my head. Now you've got to do it compliantly, which means you can't cherry pick. Right. That's the biggest thing is if you're going to ask one client for a video testimonial, you have to ask all your clients for a video testimonial. Right. So the SEC, that's where they're going to come down is cherry picking. Now, any social proof that you can use is Absolutely do it, right? Case studies. Now, again, you can't write that about one client, but you can write it about a
Situational.
client scenario, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, situational. So that would be the one thing, David, that I just, be cautious about is they're going to look for cherry picking. Now, something I've heard that I cannot confirm is that SEC keeps some kind of compliance score. So the moment that you say you're using testimonials and reviews in your ADV is the moment you expose yourself to greater risk for an audit. Again, can't confirm that, but that is something I've heard from a couple of compliance people. So you've got firms that sit on both sides of the fence, and you're right, David. Most advisors are not taking advantage of it, so it is still a differentiator. An easy way to do that is just make sure that your Google business page is up and can accept reviews there. And my buddy Whit Lanier, I'll do a little plug for Whit here. I'm going to draw a blank on his business name. It is, if anybody knows Whit and knows the name of the business, it is something reviews. I'm going to look it up real quick because it's terrible of me not knowing that off the top of my head. Whit
How do you spell his last name?
Lanier.
That would have been my guess. Okay.
Yeah. So Whit's business is Amplify Reviews. And David Whit's got a great solution, a great compliance solution. So take a look at Amplify Reviews if you want to take advantage of reviews and testimonials. And tell Whit Michael and I sent you. Yeah, we'll get a little play in there, Michael. You've made we were getting prepped for this, and you'd mentioned big goals through small, consistent actions. Michael, what are some of those actions as we move into our conclusion here? What are some of those actions that you're going to recommend for advisors going into 26?
First off, based on that study from Harvard, write a business plan.
Yeah,
You could do it on your own. We could do it together. We have a template. We collaboratively write that plan. And the best plan, starting with this high level goal, is the more tactical and almost paint by numbers that you get, the more success you'll have. The best business plan we ever saw, she had her goals and strategies and action steps, but she put a date next to every action step, as
cool.
granular as you can get. And that date went on the calendar as a reminder, blew through her goals. So
That's
the other
awesome.
thing I would say about just overall planning, start with a high level goal. And in most cases, it's net new assets. It's assets, right?
Yeah,
Whether you want to bring in 5 million or 50 million next year, that's your goal. Then pick 3 core strategies to support that goal. I'm going to go after outside assets for existing clients. I want to build a business owner campaign with Charlie. And I really want to spend time building relationships and doing joint marketing with centers of influence. And for each of those strategies, what are all of the tactics and action steps that to support each of those? So it's a sales funnel. We call it the goal planning funnel.
love it.
And it'll help you be more successful.
Yeah, those are all great tips. I'll tell you one thing that I think advisors that separate themselves do is, and this is a simple thing, and it's internal, right? But track your pipeline. If you can
Every
do,
day we do it. Yep.
yeah, if you can do one thing differently, and I know a lot, this is business development tends to get backburnered. We all get busy, right? But every week, track your pipeline and start load that pipeline with people who may not feel like prospects right now, but people you want to do business with, the top five, the 5 people that the clients you want to land, and take small incremental steps, the small actions, right? The small incremental steps to move those people through. It's not going to go from where you're at today to a meeting tomorrow, right? But you can take incremental steps. Maybe you don't know them yet, so it starts with an introduction, right? And if you concentrate on the people in that pipeline, don't make it too many people, but maybe if it's 25 people that are people you want to do business with or down that funnel in one respect or another, track that pipeline every single week and create actionable steps to move those people forward in the relationship.
I'll add one thing to that, Charlie, time
Yeah.
blocking.
Yeah,
We
dude.
know you have inbound requests and client needs.
Yep.
And so you can time block every hour, half hour block of the day, but some time blocking for whatever activities you choose.
Yep.
Again, these are best practices of our top producers.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who are here a little bit early, Michael and I were talking about my early mornings. And yeah, it's just meetings during the day and the day gets going and all of a sudden things get sidetracked a little bit. I time block every single morning and I'm odd in that I'm up super early, but those are the most productive times. So any task related things that I need to get done all happen before 9 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, agreed. Time blocking. Set aside time for business development. Set aside time for tracking your pipeline and your small activities and goals. Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlie, if you wrap together everything we talked about, from defining a niche to your core four to the list of fives to leveraging social media and LinkedIn, time blocking. All that is what goes into a good business plan, and that sets you up for the year
That's it.
ahead.
That's it. That's it. Michael,
That's my
you want to share your QR code real quick?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. I'll put mine up there in a second.
Yeah, if everyone can see this okay, if you just take a picture of that, we'd love to offer you a complimentary coaching session.
You-
Really a chance for you. Can you see it okay, Charlie?
No, it actually is a screenshot that's cut in half.
Okay, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
There you go.
Okay, sorry. We'd love to offer you a complimentary coaching session. It's a chance to really come in, talk to us about your practice, things you want to focus on, areas of opportunity, and really just pick our brain for ideas and get a flavor for what we do. So if you take a picture of that, it takes you right to a form on our website. It'll take you 10 seconds to fill it out, and then you'll hear from us in due time. So I appreciate that. I'll leave it up for just another couple seconds, and then Charlie, I'll let you flip it to your screen.
Cool.
But again, thanks for having me, and I hope everyone walks away with some ideas here.
My gosh, man, you got so much knowledge. I appreciate you sharing it.
Good. All right. So let me take that off. And Charlie, back to you.
Yeah, let's see if I can find mine here. There we go. All right, so I'll leave that up for a second. This is a link to my 30-minute scheduler. You want to walk through LinkedIn Sales Navigator, figure out how to find the people that you want to do business with next year, talk about webinars, talk about CRM, advertising, cold email, whatever, digital marketing. That's what we do.
I like the logo. You have to take a new one if you shave the mustache ever.
I can't. I can't
Yeah, you
shave the
can.
mustache. I can't.
Part of who you are.
I gotta keep it. It started as a joke, man. And then my wife and one of the people that works with us built that logo and started broadcasting it and
That's
actually made stickers, and now I can never shave again. Cool.
Good. All right. Thanks again.
Michael, a pleasure. Thank you, dude.
You
I
too.
appreciate you spending some time with our joint audience. I recognize some names on there. There's some people I haven't met yet. Yeah, dude, you got a ton of knowledge.
You too.
I love some of the very specific tactical implementation that you walk through. The list of fives is great. Anyway, yeah, a pleasure to host you, Michael. We'll do it again soon.
You too. All right. Happy holidays, everybody.
All right.
It's coming up fast.
It is
thank you.
Too fast.
I know.
See you, Michael.
Bye.